Hey guys, and welcome to the Moms and Mysteries podcast, a true crime podcast featuring myself, Mandy, and my dear friend, Melissa. Hi, Melissa.
Hi, Mandy. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I am good. Big day over here today.
We've had a lot of big days lately.
Okay, but don't downgrade the big day we're having today.
Oh, yeah. No, nothing compares to this big day. Yes,
Right.
I said that. That came out much worse than I intended.
You're good. You're good. We are here today with the lovely Kate Casey. Kate, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for joining me the other day on my podcast, and great to be with you today.
Absolutely. It's Reality Life with Kate Casey, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm subscribed. I've been subscribed forever. You've always had the best guests. You get people. I don't even know how some people agree to come on your show. Not in a bad way, but I'm like, you shouldn't open your mouth anymore. You were on Love is Blind and you said too much.
That's not true.
No, it is. But if you want to tell people a little about your show, and we'll get into it.
I love unscripted TV, real people, real stories. Couldn't be more bored with like a scripted television show. I was somebody that was like obsessed with the real world, and it like spills over into documentaries. I mean, you name it, I've probably watched it. So my show it's a daily podcast, and I feature interviews with the talent, the directors, and the executive producers of unscripted TV. So that runs the gamut of reality shows to documentaries and documentary series. And Mondays, I tell you what to watch. Tuesday through Friday, I do interviews. And then Saturday, I have a Saturday series where I interview people who have like really cool personal stories. Like last week, I had a woman whose mother was murdered while she was 14 months old. Her sister was 4 months old. They were sleeping in their cribs.
Ugh.
The next day, they're crying all morning, and the neighbors notice, and they do a well check. And when the police officers got there, their mother had been murdered.
Oh my gosh.
A year later, her estranged husband, their father, was arrested. He was convicted of the murders, and 5 years later, he was exonerated.
No.
When they found her body, there were bite marks on her breast, and they had odontologists that confirmed, 11 of them, that said it wasn't a match, the bite marks, to the estranged husband. But he had a crappy lawyer who was a real drunk, and there was a shoddy investigation, so he ended up being exonerated. But the case is still unsolved, and she listens to my show, and I interviewed her about what is that like when you grow up and the story is your mother was murdered, your father was accused, and then he was exonerated.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know how you reconcile something like that.
Yeah. You know who's one of my listeners too is Ashley Bridegan,
Really?
Jared's
We
sister.
love her. Yeah.
Yeah, she's awesome. Hi, Ashley, if you're listening. She is wonderful. The entire family is just wonderful. We love them. Yeah, so Kate, one thing I'm super excited about is, of course, you're a pop culture queen and one of my favorite things. But you, like you said, you mentioned things you should be watching on Mondays. So we're kind of pretending it's your Monday show, but you're doing it over here. And we want to get into your brain and hear about the documentaries we should be watching. Because I know there are like the regular ones you hear, What's Wrong with Aunt Diane? You know, there's like the few that we hear over and over and over again. But you've got like a really solid list, and I'm excited to talk about it.
Okay, so this is also going to give you a window into the mad genius that kind of we all have, but mine specific to is like hunting down people.
Right.
Which you're going to mention. So some of them, there'll be a story that might go with it. But the first one is the Amanda Knox documentary. It was excellent. It was done on Netflix in 2016. And that is a guest that I interviewed. And I've had a lot of people that have said that listening to her interview completely shifted the way they had perceived the case. Amanda was a student who was in an exchange program, and she was living in Italy. Her roommate, Meredith, a British student on exchange from the University of Leeds, was murdered in their duplex that they were living. They were both about 21 years old. So Meredith was found dead on the floor of her room. And what we figured out in the process of this Netflix documentary, and certainly when I spoke to her, is that the unit in which they lived in Perugia, it actually had 2 floors to it. So on the bottom floor, there were 3 or 4 men that lived there. And then in their top unit, there were 4 roommates. Everyone was out of town that weekend. And Amanda decided to go to Raffaello, her boyfriend's. So Meredith was the only person in that home that night.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I don't...
So,
yeah
that's kind of, smoothed over. when you go back and you watch that Netflix documentary, they go through all the pieces of evidence and you realize that the media in Italy really exaggerated circumstances. Like, we've all seen coverage of her doing like the cartwheels outside. In the interview and in the documentary, she explains what really happened. And they took a couple seconds and exaggerated it. She's doesn't speak the language. She's all alone. She's sleep deprived. And I think you'll come away after watching that documentary really understanding what a crappy deal that she got.
Yeah.
And if there's also a book about a case in Italy, I think it's Monsters of something, but I think it really illuminates how different the justice system is in Italy versus the United States in particular. So I really recommend that one. If you're somebody who's like, yeah, she was such a weirdo, she was like kissing her boyfriend, like, watch that documentary. It's going to change your opinion.
And I feel like there's still so many people that don't even know. I mean, us, we know. But like my husband, I said something about Amanda Knox and he's like, is she still in jail? I'm like, somebody else went to prison for it. It was never her. And he just didn't really know that because you hear the whole hype of, what happened in the beginning. And to have that follow you around and, she's a mom now. She has her kids. I just can't imagine being Amanda Knox, truly. She's been through so much, but of course, Meredith's family has also been through so much. But we heard like all the noise about Amanda and nothing really when the killer was actually arrested. It was just kind of like a blip on the radar.
That's a good point. It is another nice thing about the documentary is you get to hear more about Meredith. And we do have to remind ourselves that it's so important to remember the victim's story should be paramount.
Right. Yeah, totally.
So that's a good one. Now, this one has lived rent-free in my head since I was a little girl. So the documentary is actually called Captive Audience, a real American horror story. It's on Hulu. That's relatively new, but the story behind it has lived rent-free in my head because it's the story of Steven Stainer, who was kidnapped as a little boy from California where he lived, and he was rescued years later. The man that took him had another boy that he also kidnapped, and Steven didn't want that little boy to go through the same thing. So they fled in the middle of the night and they ended up going to see law enforcement. And that became the genesis of a story called I Know My First Name is Steven, which was like a made-for-TV movie when I was a little girl. And they would play it every year and I was always super obsessed with it.
Me too. I remember my dad like telling me about this story and saying, by the way, there's, this show. I think I know my first name is Steven and Mommy May I Sleep with Danger are those two.
Oh, yeah, that one too.
But those are like my childhood movies.
Yeah,
like those are the things I got into.
Now I think back, I'm like, what? My kids, they'd be like, what?
I know. My kids wouldn't even be interested in it. But yeah, that story in itself, that was enough to just be unreal and you couldn't believe it. I think the little boy's name was Thomas White and just the courage he had to take. But then you can go from here because it just explodes from there. So
Steven's kidnapped and then rescued, and he's from this family. And he had an older brother named Carrie who was super cute. And all the footage of the family is really cute. They got an actor that's really cute. He ends up being a serial killer, killed a bunch of people in Yosemite. So that documentary is about that family and what happened. And I interviewed Steven Stainer's daughter, Ashley.
Whoa.
So that was interesting too. Really admire her courage and ability to speak out so much about that family and what they've been through.
I can't imagine. That is like two sides of a different coin. I mean, to have the victim and then the perpetrator being in the same family and being praised like everyone, Steven was a hero. And then to flip it on this other side, I've always think about that family because I just think, how do you reconcile? And then didn't Steven die
in a motorcycle accident?
Motorcycle accident. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Right outside
where
his
it was
work.
just like he never really even got to live his life. I don't know. That one, I have to tell my dad about it.
But let's just go back to that. We were obsessed with a story about a kidnapping when we were kids. Like
100%.
That's crazy.
And there was something about a milk box, the face on the milk box or something.
Yes. There was another documentary within the last year about the genesis of the milk box, the kidnapping, putting the missing kids on the back of the box. It actually was really helpful. When I was an intern in college, there was a period of time I did work with the missing and exploited children center. and we would find communities that had a missing child and put out press releases to kind of remind people. But I mean, with social media now, it's just so much more helpful to get stories out about missing kids.
It is. And so much quicker, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's definitely one to watch. Okay. The Keepers on Netflix is an absolute must watch. Have you guys watched this one?
I'm so embarrassed to say I haven't seen this one, but we have a friend who has covered this. He did a whole series on this. He's like friends with sister. All the sisters.
No. Shane,
thank
yes,
you.
Okay.
I know his name, but then I couldn't figure out the connection. He does amazing, yeah.
So The Keepers, I was obsessed with too. I have an aunt that was a nun. It's called The Keepers. It's on Netflix. It is about a six episode series. It's the story of Sister Kathy Sesnick. She was a teacher at Archbishop Keough High School in Baltimore, which was an all-girls school, which has since closed down. She was a beloved teacher. She was missing for a period of time, and then her body was found in 1969. The docuseries picks up about 6 years ago, and you get to meet these students of hers who are now in their 50s and 60s, and they have been tirelessly trying to find out what happened to Sister Kathy. And in the process, you find out that she was likely a whistleblower to a scandal involving the archdiocese, the head priest at the school, the teachers, and the police department. They were basically sex trafficking girls. And she may have had information and was going to bring it forward to authorities, and was probably killed by a priest.
Wow.
So it's an absolute must watch.
Yeah, I know of the story, like I said, especially from Shane and his podcast, but I haven't seen this. So when I watched the trailer, I tried to watch all these trailers first. I was like, how have I missed it? I think I got, what am I trying to say? Intimidated by it being 6 parts, because sometimes I'm like, I need a 3-parter.
I know, you're like, that's a big commitment. I think you're going to get into it right away. I think because it's the story of I think what you come away with it is like, it really is incredible how some teachers really have such a strong connection to students.
Yeah.
And how awful it must have been for some of these girls. Some are victims, some are not.
Right.
Gemma Hoskins, who is Shane's co-host, who I've had on my show too, she was not abused by any of these priests, but found out about it later. And the way they've all kind of rallied around the victims, who they now know years later, their own classmates were victims, and how they're in such great support of them. It kind of illuminates also the story of nuns.
Yeah.
And what happens in the church, and how they're kind of like these unsung heroes.
Totally. Yeah. I'm going to definitely check that out.
I am telling you, you're going to get sucked into it. I really highly recommend
I might start it tonight. I actually have a little time, so...
Now, Girl in the Picture is directed by Skye Borgman, and she does fantastic Netflix documentaries. Like, the big ones that you're going to see on Netflix, it's typically Skye's the director.
Mm-hmm.
So this one was based on a book called A Beautiful Child and Finding Sharon by Matt Birkbeck. And it's about a young girl known as Sharon. She was abducted by a federal fugitive named Franklin Floyd, and he told people that she was his daughter. So over the course of the next 2 decades, she was assaulted by him, forced to marry him, and ultimately died in this very suspicious hit-and-run accident. So why the documentary is really interesting is it follows the events that transpired afterward, and the 3 years or the years-long effort by Matt, who wrote the book, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, and the FBI to find out who she really was. So it's based on this picture, and people always thought the story was sort of strange with Franklin and this woman, and you're going to like the documentary because it kind of plays out who the woman really is.
I did watch this one. This one was super fascinating, and just meeting people that knew her when she was younger, and then people that knew her at a different name, and they all had, really kind things to say about her. But when you do see that one picture that is part of like cover and everything, and you see this little girl, and you really do think like, what's happened here? Like it's a very upsetting picture to see, and to know that it's horrific that this guy was able to get away with things for decades.
I guess it goes back to our fascination with kidnappings.
True.
Did you ever read the book by J.C. Dugard?
I was obsessed with JC. Mandy, I know that was one that you were interested in too. She was, how long was she kidnapped for? She had like 3 kids, right? And taught them to read and everything.
10 plus years, maybe?
Unreal. I'm fascinated by her story. She's incredible.
She wrote about, so she was kidnapped and then she was rescued and she had children in secret with the perpetrator. And he lived with a wife and she helped cover for him and he was Looney Tunes crazy. But she wrote a book, which I highly recommend. And the one part of it, in one chapter, she says, in this chapter, I'm going to be very graphic about what this man did to me. And the reason I'm going to do so is with the help of therapist, I've realized it's his shame and not mine. And I read that and I thought, well, that just changed my life. And I think about that all the time. Like when things happen to us, small or big, we tend to take the shame on, like feel terrible about ourselves and carry that. Why should we? Someone did it to us.
And you know what I find is fascinating with that? I feel like a lot of times that's why kids are victims to perpetrators, because who is going to, as a kid, you're going to think everything's your fault. And they know this. And so to put it on the child rather than, if you do this, then this will happen or this will hurt your family or whatever, a kid's going to be quiet and keep it all in. So she's incredible. So powerful. Yeah. Mandy, here's a not-so-fun fact. Did you know that traditional sunscreens can actually be absorbed into your bloodstream? Which is actually kind of scary when you think about it. That can mean hormonal issues, breakouts, and more. But with Dime's Wonderscreen SPF 30, that's not an issue. And that's because Dime is all about clean, non-toxic ingredients, including their incredible mineral-based sunscreen that stays on top of your skin, giving you clean, natural protection. And it has 19% zinc oxide to block UVA and UVB rays. And beyond that, their Works skincare set is something you and I both have, and it's everything you want in skincare. It's like a spa day for your face, but without the crazy price point.
Now, I've always known that daily sunscreen is a must, but I've definitely skipped it in the past because it left me feeling washed out. That is, until I discovered Dime's tinted sunscreen. I didn't even know I needed it, but now I can't live without it. The Wonderscreen doesn't leave that white cast or make me feel greasy, and there's 3 tinted glow shades to choose from. It's basically skincare and makeup all in one.
I've been making some healthier switches in my life, and my skincare routine is part of that, and Dime makes that so easy. From skincare to body care, beauty, and fragrance, Mandy, you and I love the fragrance they send us. Dime has it all, and you can feel really good about what you're putting on your skin.
And when it comes to their nourishing cleansing oil, it's a total game changer. It melts away makeup, sunscreen, or dirt. It's luxurious, but still truly clean, and it makes my skin feel great.
With thousands of glowing 5-star reviews and a loyal community, the results speak for themselves. If you're looking for cleaner skincare, Dime is the way to go. Go to dimebeautyco.com today, and new customers get 25% off. That's dimebeautyco.com. dimebeautyco.com.
I have to tell you guys about this incredible bra I've been wearing. The Fits Everybody collection from Skims. It's so light, it feels like you're not wearing anything at all. Seriously, I don't know how they even made a bra this breathable, but it's unlike anything I've tried.
I know exactly what you mean. I've been wearing it too, and it's amazing. We live in Florida, so we know what hot weather is like, and it gets hot here, especially during the summer. But this bra helps keep me cool. And if you're like, hey, I don't live in Florida, why does this even matter to me? Well, today the heat index in New York is up to 116, so wherever you live, whatever time of year, it really does matter. If walking from your car to your door melts you like a popsicle, this is exactly what you need.
Exactly. The last thing you want is to feel even more uncomfortable when the heat is on. But with Skims, it's breathable and comfortable no matter how hot it gets.
And you still get the support you need. It's light, it's breathable, and it actually works for the summer heat. This is definitely my go-to bra right now. Skims really nailed it with the Fits Everybody collection.
Shop Skims Fits Everybody collection and more at skims.com. After you place your order, be sure to let them know we sent you. Select podcast in the survey and be sure to select our show in the drop-down menu that follows.
Okay. Wild Wild Country. Did you guys watch that one?
I started it and I stopped it. And I love Mark Duplass, and I still didn't make it through.
I'm not even familiar with this one.
Andy, I feel like this is up your alley. I feel like this one's for you. Okay. Do you like things with cults?
Of course.
Okay. All you need to know is the beginning of this multi-part series is a group of people who are dressed up in monochromatic outfits with like medallions around their neck. They roll out a red carpet, and then there are workers that have like dustbuster trying to get all the crumbs off of it. and they're playing like recorders. Like not like school kids, 5th graders, like real adults playing recorders with the monochromatic outfits and the medallions and the red carpet. And up pulls this man who looks like he's a member of ZZ Top and gets out of a Rolls Royce with a whole monochromatic outfit. And there begins the story of this group of people who basically sold all their stuff and were committed to this commune that this guru from India had created in the mountains, like in the middle of nowhere of Oregon. And they were all devoted to him. It was really the first religion that melded Western capitalism and Eastern mysticism, which now is just like so prevalent. Like,
isn't that just California? We're not there, but
exactly. And so it's a bonker story about the group of people that like worship this weirdo. The woman that was like the right-hand lady and how she was so manipulative and what happened in this commune. And by the way, I just remembered for my Saturday Series episode, I just interviewed a couple weeks ago a woman who grew up on that commune.
Really?
Yeah, but that is like one of the wildest stories. Like if you like cults, it's like almost like a movie, like a Ben Affleck movie meets a cult documentary.
I love it. I love a good cult story, and I've always been fascinated by cults. I think the last cult story that we talked about or got really into, Melissa, wasn't it the one? What was the documentary that had Mother God? What was it?
Oh yeah, where her skin was all blue and they had the Christmas lights around them. I think I interviewed the director of that one.
Yes.
I was going to ask, who did you get on this one?
Katie.
I think her birth name was Katie, but AKA Mother God.
But then she got some other crazy name.
Yeah, there was a lot going on there. I felt horrible for her kids. They've been through so much. But that is another documentary that, you have no idea what you're getting into when it starts. Like, you don't even know what you're looking at. You find out, but I had to rewind it. And Mandy had started it, and she was like, I'm going to have to finish it later. And then she restarted it and was like, what did I just see? I was like, yeah.
Well, yeah, because you're like, should I go to sleep with one eyeball open? Because if you saw somebody who's blue with Christmas lights around them.
If somebody brings Christmas lights in this room, I'm dead. I don't want to do this. Yeah.
And all those YouTube videos that she made.
Yeah. And the people who still after father, all the different father gods too. They just,
yeah.
There was tons of them. Yeah.
Have you ever watched The Vow on HBO about NXIVM?
Yes. My co-host on Criminality, Rebecca Sebastian, her husband used to say that she is the only person that knows more about NXIVM than like somebody that was in it. She knows more about it than them.
I want to party with this cowgirl.
She's amazing. Yeah.
Okay. Can I just say that every single time you say NXIVM, or I've heard this many times, I can only think about the like prescription medication NXIVM.
I know it is. That is very confusing. I agree.
I was prescribed when I was pregnant for my nausea. Or for my heartburn, I think, or one of those two things. But that's always what I think of. So anytime I hear anyone reference that documentary, I'm like, hold on. I'm like, is this like one of those like pharmaceutical scam things or something? I'm like, wait,
totally.
No, we're still on cults here. So
when I was pregnant with my fourth, I went down the NXIVM rabbit hole. This was before the arrests, and I felt like I was a NXIVM scholar too.
Yeah. And
that I interviewed so many, Frank Parlato, Catherine Oxenberg, and then I became friends with Sarah, who was the first one who got branded. And this, you guys need to meet each other.
I love Sarah. I bought Rebecca a cameo of Sarah, and then she was like, I actually know her. We're friends.
Dying. Too good.
I was like, sorry about that.
You're like, guess what I got you. Yeah, I know her.
It was so funny. Yeah, that one is incredible. And it ruined, I'm a big volleyball person. And
without question.
He ruined volleyball.
Do we think he killed all those women? To poison them? I think he did.
I don't know about that. Yeah.
I feel like he did.
Yeah.
He wanted their money from their trusts or whatever, the will.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just excited that Catherine Oxenberg, what was
India.
You'll know this. Yes, India. But remember, she was on like a reality show, My Princess. My wife's a princess.
Oh, yeah.
I married a princess.
Mm-hmm. With Casper Van Diem.
Yes, thank you. Mandy, this is somebody who matches me.
I know.
I'm a dork
enjoying the conversation. I know Melissa will tell you that I just don't watch a lot of like documentaries or TV because I'm always writing
unless she's required
for one
to.
thing. And then I find it hard to follow like multiple stories at once. So if I'm working on like
So you're like a deep diver. You are like fully...
I have to just only focus on the one story that I have in front of me, which is usually the one that I'm like writing for the next episode or for an episode.
Yeah.
So I end up not watching a lot of true crime documentaries unless it's something that I'm specifically watching for the podcast. So I'm just enjoying the conversation here and also getting some recommendations for myself to check out for sure.
You would actually be a perfect person to direct or write the screenplay of a movie based on a true crime doc because of that.
Yeah.
True. Yeah.
Yeah. Like you become a scholar from every case that you cover, I'm sure.
I don't know if I would say that, but because I feel like it's hard to retain a lot of that information too sometimes, when you have all those cases and stories floating around in your head, but of course there are the ones that really do stand out, and definitely certain documentaries that I feel like will stick with me forever. Like you're never going to forget seeing a mummified human with Christmas lights around them as the opening scene of a documentary.
No, but
I remember all these useless facts because I've got like a photographic memory, but I can't properly cook chicken. So we all have our things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, not so good for your family, but
not exactly. Okay, this one, do you like sports at all?
Volleyball, and I'll watch the Olympics.
Okay. So it is Olympic adjacent. So it's called Icarus. That's another great one. Dudes who ask me for things to watch, I always recommend this one too. It's the story of this guy who was actually an actor, and he became obsessed with cycling. And he would get so frustrated because he would do all these competitions and he's like, why am I getting my butt kicked? So he devises this idea. He's like, you know what? I'm going to do like a Lance Armstrong doping system. And I'm going to film it and I make a documentary out of it to see if it helps me with my races. Well, in the process, he hires this Russian doctor to help him. In the making of it, that Russian doctor ends up being the whistleblower for the Russian drug program for the athletes in Russia. And he can't go back to Russia because he'll be arrested and probably killed. So it plays out like a thriller. So in the beginning, you're like, oh, he's hired this guy, and we're going to figure out what it's like to dope like Lance Armstrong. And by the end of it, you're like, are they going to get killed? Like this doctor had to go in a witness protection program, but he blew the lid off of what was happening in Russia for decades.
Wow.
It's bonkers.
That sounds really good.
Yeah, that one was really good. That's like one I watched, and then I had to find the director like 2 days later because a lot of cases, like I'm sure with you guys too, you watch them where you hear about a case and you're like, well, I've got 14 other questions.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So a good one, like if you're for your husbands who are not going to be into a story about a romance scam, Icarus is a really good true crime one. And then they also like the Jinx, which is the HBO doc about the real estate heir who really killed several people, but he's most known for killing his wife, Kathleen Durst. And he was a real sociopath, and a lot of people followed that case, and that's on HBO. Do your husbands like that one, the Jinx?
My husband doesn't watch any. If I like it, he doesn't like it.
Does he like war movies and like scripted
yeah,
series?
He'll do
Yeah,
that.
yeah, okay.
Yeah. Mm.
That might be one. I think he'll love Icarus. He might like the Jinx, but Icarus, absolutely shoe in. No problem. He'll love it. Okay,
the Jinx was great. We covered that a long time ago. I think on for Patreon. I mean, years and years ago, and I remember that one being really good. Melissa had a lot of funny commentary. I remember about Mr. Durst.
He's such a weirdo.
He is.
That one is fascinating, and I'm sure you saw the second part that came out.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was really interesting that we got to see the families in real time. Seeing it, that was incredible because when you watch the documentary and there is like this really big moment in it that I don't want to spoil if somebody hasn't seen it. I mean, at this point, it's not on me anymore to protect you. You should just have seen it. But when the family gets that information and just watching them, it's I don't know. It's like the most perfect piece of cinema ever, just to have that insight to that moment.
Mm-hmm. And then you think about how long the filmmakers chased that story.
That's unreal too. I always think that do you hear that a lot with like documentary filmmakers and stuff? I just always think this is like years. We do like a week
Usually
and
it takes years. Mm-hmm.
I cannot imagine just waiting and not even knowing the ending of the story a lot of times. Stuff is in process. So that's, yeah.
That one's a good. Well, this one I know that you guys have probably covered and talked about. American Nightmare, about the couple that the girlfriend was kidnapped from their home in California, and they suggested that it was sort of like a made up gone girl story where the couple had set it up to get some money, but in reality she was kidnapped by this horrible guy and kept captive, and then he finally released her. And even when she was released, the police department and the media said that she had made the whole thing up. And then, of course, they ate their own words and they found out that there really was a guy that had kidnapped her. It's called American Nightmare and it's on Netflix.
That one is great, Mandy. Remember, we covered that one. But the big thing being her boyfriend was there at the time when she got kidnapped and wasn't able to describe certain things, that they had a flashlight in his face. So it does seem like that could have been a possibility. And that's where we talked about on your show, we don't like to really come up with a lot of theories about what happened a lot of times because you just never know, especially in the early days of investigations and stuff when people are, you look at the comments, they're like, the husband definitely did it. He nodded 3 times. And if you look to the left, you're a liar and stuff like that. You just don't know. And this was like a very good reminder that you never know. And there's real sickos. And that lady police officer, she was wonderful. She was absolutely on her game.
Melissa, when we get a sponsor that we're both really excited about? Function Health is definitely one of those. If you haven't heard of it, it's an all-in-one health platform that helps you take control of your health with data. Instead of guessing what's going on inside your body, Function Health gives you access to over 160 tests, covering everything from heart health to hormones, liver function, and even autoimmunity, which was actually flagged in my results.
It's so reassuring to get a clinician's breakdown once your results are in. I actually just got my clinician notes this week, and I love how they summarized everything. Plus, it actually gives you actionable steps like supplements and even food suggestions. I've actually been very exhausted the past few months, so having these lab results and knowing what I can do to change it has actually really helped. And I'm waking up ready for the day now, and I'll be retesting in 4 months to compare those to my old labs to see how things have changed.
That's amazing. Function Health really helps you take a proactive approach. Traditional checkups only cover about 19 biomarkers, but Function Health tests over 160. It's 5 times deeper, so you get a full picture of your health. And with biannual testing included in your membership, you can compare your first set of results to your second and catch even the smallest changes early on.
Exactly. Prevention is everything, especially with the rise in chronic conditions and cancer becoming more and more common in younger people. Function Health helps you understand what's happening inside your body, and I'm especially interested in their autoimmunity tests. The best part, Function Health doesn't sell supplements or prescriptions. The insights are just all about getting you the right information. And at just $499 annually, you get over 160 tests, which is actually a huge savings compared to traditional doctor's offices. Fun fact, I actually asked my phlebotomist about the pricing on Function Health to see what she thought, and she said she actually could not believe how affordable it was, especially compared to buying the same test a la carte.
Take control of your health outside the doctor's office today and get a $100 credit towards your annual membership at functionhealth.com/mysteries. But act fast. The $100 credit is only for the first 1,000 listeners. Sign up right now at functionhealth.com/mysteries. That's functionhealth.com/mysteries.
Keep sweet, pray and obey. Mandy, did you follow the story? This was all about Warren Jeffs and the polygamous church. And if anybody has not watched it, that is the one you can watch and you get caught up on all of the fundamentalist cult coverage. It's all in one. And I interviewed the main character in the documentary series, Alyssa Wall. And yeah, if anybody's unfamiliar with fundamentalist Mormons, this is the one to watch. It's called Keep Sweet, Pray, and Obey.
I feel like I did watch it, or at least started it, but I feel like I'm also getting it confused with another documentary that I can't think of the name of. And I think I have 2 stories in my head that are confused with each other right now with this one. But I always get into, when we were just talking about the keepers, I am fascinated by any of the ones that are based around a religious thing. And I just find it really fascinating how religion is sometimes used in a
Mm-hmm.
terrible way. And like, they have different components that are used to justify certain things. So this one sounds like something I would definitely be interested in.
Now, this other one is called Burden of Proof. It's 4 parts, and it's heartbreaking because this man is trying to find out what happened behind his sister's disappearance. And she had a horrible relationship with their father. She disappears one night. They go through the crime scene, or at least the recreation of it. And it pulls on your heartstrings, but I think it goes back to those stories that you hear less of now, but whether or not someone was kidnapped, taken, out of the home, or maybe they left to meet someone and just disappears off the face of the earth. Like, is it a case of somebody who disappeared on purpose, or if something else nefarious happened? And it's about a man's sister, so definitely worth to check out.
It is, and his confrontation in that with his parents. That's another one, like you were talking about the girl you interviewed for your show last week, where she has, her dad who's now been exonerated and all that stuff that was a prime suspect. I can't imagine just going through life and always having that.
Mm-hmm.
It's still your parents, and having that in the back of your head that they could have had something to do with it. That one really broke my heart, and that guy was angry, and I don't blame him whatsoever, but it was a hard watch for me.
Yeah. Now, a lot of people love Tinder Swindler on Netflix. That's a story of a con man who swindled about $10 million from different women. And I think that was definitely a mainstream story. But a lot of people may not have heard of The Imposter, which is on Prime Video, which is this 1997 case where there's a French trickster by the name of Frederic Bourdin who pretended to be Nicholas Patrick Barkley, who was a little boy who had disappeared in Texas at age 13 in 1994. And Nicholas, the boy, seems to reappear, and the family seems to just accept it. And so when you watch the story play back out, you're like, wait, what? Mandy, I feel like this one's up your alley.
I have watched this one, and I love this documentary. I actually had forgotten about it until you just mentioned this one again. But what a wild story that is, though, because I can't imagine being, can you imagine losing a child and then how? I feel like at face value, you're like, how do you believe anything? How could anyone fall for this or believe any of this? But if you think like people in their grieving, like they just want their dreams to come true, right? They want their child back. They want that, their family to be complete again. And so that's the heartbreaking part about it, is that is such an easy way to be preyed on, by somebody who sees an opportunity to be like, I'm going to pretend to be this person that I'm not, and, see how far it can go. And yeah, that was definitely a really fascinating story.
But by the way, another part to it is there is a part where you're like, why are they so quick to accept this story?
Right.
Did they do something to him?
Yeah. That was a hard thing because like Mandy was saying, you want to believe, but when you start hearing like his eyes are a different color, he speaks with an accent, like all these things where you're like, huh. But at the same time, they're being told by, whoever, this is your kid. And so just like, I can't imagine, you don't want to question that. I wouldn't want to question that. But also, if I had done something wrong, I would very much want to accept that and to have that in my home so people stop asking questions.
I also do feel like as a mom, I'm not saying the case for everyone, but I feel like I would know if it was my child or not. I feel like you would have a sense about it. So that was kind of one of the things in that documentary that I was like, I don't know. I don't know if you can put too much weight in a mother's intuition, but I do kind of feel like, for me personally, I feel like I would think about how I actually felt if I felt like that was my child or not.
That'd be a hard thing
it reminds me, I interviewed, did you ever see the documentary The Lost Sons?
Remind me what
that one's an
about.
Interesting story. So this little boy disappears from the hospital room right after, like a day or two after he was born. Doris Franzak is the mother, and she has a little boy named Paul. And this nurse comes in, we now know is a woman dressed as a nurse, and says the doctor needs to do some tests. Walks out of the hospital. It's the reason they have the pink bracelets on at hospitals. Mm-hmm. It was the largest manhunt in Chicago history. They never were able to find this baby. Well, it's about it may be a year and some change later, and this little boy appears or is in a stroller with some bruises on his face outside of Atlantic City, like a strip mall. And the authorities get in touch with the FBI. The FBI calls the forensics and says, this little boy is in New Jersey, and we think it may be your son. Now, because he was a newborn, they didn't do fingerprints. They just did the picture of the baby of Paul Franzak. So they said, well, because of the size of the ears, we think it might be your son, which is like, what?
Yeah.
So the
And they're
Franzaks...
comparing this with like a baby, like a newborn baby?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the Franzaks fly out to New Jersey, and they have this big press conference, and they go, yeah, that's our son. So they bring him home, and this little boy, Paul, is growing up, and he can't help but realize, like, I don't look like anybody in this house. Like, it's a little weird.
Right.
Well, one day he pulls like a chair or a couch back, and he finds this box filled with newspaper clippings about a kidnapped baby. So he brings it to his parents, and he asks, is this about me? And they're like, don't ask us about it ever again. So then he's an adult, and he's like, listen, I want to do a DNA swab. The parents don't want to do it. They finally give in. He does the DNA swab. He's not the baby, Paul Franzak. So the documentary is called The Lost Sons, and I first I could realize about it. Barbara Walters interviewed him in October of 2013, and it was like this ongoing story on 2020. And so they made it into a documentary. You can watch it on like HBO, ID Discovery HBO. And I've interviewed him too. But one of the things he said, I asked him about his mother and his father. Like, you get to New Jersey and you know that baby's not yours. And he said she was such in deep grief about the loss of her son. She couldn't bear the thought of that little boy not having a home. So even though she knew it wasn't hers, she still took the baby home.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Man, that gave me chills, actually.
That's actually, actually surprisingly, like high school kids, if I bring that one up, they always are interested in that story.
Okay.
For whatever reason. Good. And then the last two I was going to suggest you do are The Staircase, which is the story of Michael Peterson's wife, Kathleen, who was found at the bottom of the stairs. It became a hugely popular Netflix documentary, but a lot of people will see their ties to the last season of White Lotus on HBO, because I believe that the family that they depict in that fictionalized series is based on the Peterson family.
Oh, but who was it that the Southern lorazepam? What is Parker Posey?
Parker Posey,
right?
yeah.
So I know, wasn't it her and the guy that played her husband that were given told to look at Thomas Ravenel and stuff like that to like work on voices, or am I crazy?
Yes, but the Ravenels were from South Carolina, and that family in White Lotus was from Durham, North Carolina.
Oh, yeah.
And this case happens in Durham, North Carolina. Mm-hmm. And also, there were girls from, so Michael Peterson, who was accused of killing his wife, Kathleen, who again was found at the bottom of the staircase. There was a couple that he knew when in his previous life, before he married Kathleen, when he was married to his first wife. They were very close friends in Germany when he was in the military. And that family had a mother who was also found at the bottom of a staircase and died. Michael Peterson adopted her two daughters. Their last name, that family, is the same last name as the family in White Lotus.
Okay, well, I mean...
My mind is blown.
Let's not try too hard there, guys. Oh, that's crazy. Yeah, I think you're onto something there.
And then the last one I really like is called The Devil Next Door. It's on Netflix. It's this Cleveland grandfather who's ended up being brought to trial in Israel. They accused him of being this infamous Nazi death camp guard known as Ivan the Terrible. So it's kind of like one of those documentaries where it's almost like a DNA analysis, historical kind of follow, where you're trying to figure out, does the timeline match? Is it possible he was this hellacious personality who had worked as a death camp guard?
Right. I hadn't heard of that one. I've heard of course, Ivan the Terrible. That one looks really good as well. Did you interview anyone with that?
No, I think I just talked about it because I got really sucked into it.
Yeah. I saw like the grandson or something in the trailer, and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot you'd have all of this family here. No, all of a sudden your grandfather's on trial for being a big part of the Holocaust. I cannot imagine that. That's unreal. Yeah, I want to definitely check that one out as well.
So that's my list.
Okay, great. Can I give you like two that I need you to watch? Okay. So I don't think you've seen this one. Chowchilla. It's on Max.
I never watch it, but I'm familiar with the story, and it unnerves me so much. Tell the good people listening what that story is about, because it is so disturbing.
Maybe you don't want to watch it. It does have a good ending. So back in 1976, there is this kidnapping. There are these kids on a bus, and they're range from like early elementary to high school, and 26 kids. All of a sudden, their bus driver, he stops. There's these men that take everyone out of the bus, put them in 2 moving vans, drive them 11 hours to this rock and gravel quarry. And there is a moving truck that's in the ground that they make them all get into. So there is a bus driver and 26 kids underground in full panic because they have no idea. So the whole thing was for ransom. Like, that's what these people are trying to get out of it. But the incredible thing was, I mean, you have 5 kids, Kate, so you're already like way, you can handle kids more than most. 26 kids in a moving van, screaming, terrified, and the bus driver is able to keep everyone calm. The older kids are able to literally scratch their way out to get out and, notify police. But it's incredible. And there is an interesting aspect where people were giving all this credit to someone else in the story. And I can't remember exactly who it was, if it was the young boy or something. Somebody was taking on all this credit, but really it was somebody else that had done the whole thing. And it was kind of like, man, but I cannot imagine. They interview, of course, some of the kids, but it's like several hours they're down there. And I cannot think of anything worse. It's like batteries are on top. I mean, it's unreal. But it is, everybody got out. So that's what I can say about it.
Do they have survivors telling like how it forever changed their lives?
That's a really interesting thing, seeing how different people's lives were affected by it. And even in the same family, interviewing different people, or one kid wasn't on the bus that day, but his sister was. So kind of like how that all comes together. It's fascinating, but it is like, it's deeply troubling that it ever happened. But it was like rich kids that decided to do this. It's so weird, the entire thing. And then my other one that I really enjoyed that I saw recently, it's called Gold and Greed: The Hunt for Finn's Treasure. Yeah. It's on Netflix. It was kind of a blink and you miss it one. So there's this 80-year-old millionaire named Forrest Finn. He hides this treasure chest somewhere in the Rocky Mountains, and he has this book you buy that has a poem, and if you figure out the poem, you'll find millions of dollars.
So God, I'm already like, I would never figure it out.
No. And the crazy thing is, it's like 300,000 people are all looking for this treasure over like 10 years. There are people that quit their jobs and are convinced that they know where they're at. So it'll be interesting. You'll see somebody like breaking down part of the riddle and saying, oh, what this refers to is over this mountain, there's a valley, and but everybody reads the same thing and they can point to different places it could be. So everybody's like, you want to make it, I don't know, you want it to be right, want it to be true. I'm talking 4 people died in the process of this. Like,
and then they found in the afterlife that he actually didn't put money anywhere.
He did. He actually did. Good. I don't know that it was as much as he said, but then
what if it's like Burger King coupons? Wouldn't you be pissed?
I would be so pissed anyway. Like, I can't imagine. And the odds were so low that one person would ever even find it. Somebody does find it, but the guy doesn't like want to be on camera. Don't blame him. So then people are like, did somebody actually find it? Or did they were begging this guy to stop this because people were dying and he just loved the media. It was fascinating. But wow. Somebody that found it, some guy bought
Did they find it?
Yeah, somebody did find it.
Oh, wow.
But there's another guy who ends up buying pieces of it. I can't remember this part very well, but like is hiding it. And I was like, please stop.
Oh, so are they going to continue this?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. That part just enraged me.
Well, I was going to say that person who found it has to be in a witness protection program.
100%. They like made him provide proof because people were like, no, he just stopped doing this treasure hunt and that's not fair. And I'm talking, people went to go live with this old man to just like learn more. Crazy, but it's a really good watch.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for coming on and talking to us this week, Kate. I definitely got some recommendations for some documentaries that I can't wait to watch in my next free moment. And you want to let everybody know where they can find you and listen to your show.
So my podcast is called Reality Life with Kate Casey. Every Monday, I'm going to tell you what to watch. So I'll give you a list of what to watch that week, documentaries, reality shows, series. And then Tuesday through Fridays, I have interviews. Saturdays, I have my special Saturday series episode. You can find Reality Life with Kate Casey everywhere where you listen to podcasts. The list of what to watch each week is at katecasey.substack.com, and it comes into your inbox every Monday. Easy. You could share it with everybody. I've got a great Facebook group, Reality Life with Kate Casey. Bonus episodes, and you can follow me on Instagram at KKCCA, TikTok, it's KKC, and Twitter, Threads, and Blue Sky at KKC. And you can go back and listen to my interview with Melissa and Mandy too.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. All right, guys, that was everything for this week. We will be back next week, same time, same place, new story.
Have a great week.
Bye.